Mr. Edwards, a recent report from the Department of Defense warns about climate change, and studies that show rising sea levels are putting more than 1,000 homes and the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard at risk. What immediate steps should be taken to protect these properties, and should the federal government cover residential losses, since the government is the entity that needed to take preventive action?
Well, I think when it comes to global warming, what we're hearing from professionals. I think you saw some leadership on the Seacoast recently. They had a conference on global warming. So I think the conversation is taking place. I think the federal government should look and make sure that homes are protected when this is happening. I think we should have the full conversation in terms of making sure that we address these critical needs, particularly not only in New Hampshire, but throughout the country. I think New Hampshire, I think the federal government has a responsibility, but I also think we can't be the only ones carrying that burden. When you look to China, for instance, has nearly double our carbon footprint. And they were given until 2030 to come into compliance, not pay for anything. America stood up and put $1 billion to address these issues. And so when President Trump moved forward to really have this issue renegotiated, once again he was criticized for asking China, one of the biggest violators of this issue, to pay, and he was criticized for that.
And Mr. Pappas, what are your thoughts with regard to the federal government's role here? Should they give assurances to residents that if their homes are severely damaged, the U.S. government will step in and reimburse them?
We can't bury our heads in the sand on this. We are seeing the leading edge of climate change and its impacts on New Hampshire in terms of the severity of storms, sea level rise, the impact on the moose population. So it's very critical that we address this head on. We've seen a commission at the state level that's dug into this in a bipartisan way and produced some recommendations. But this is a national security threat to our country. And so we need to make sure that the federal government is paying attention to this. I also think we have to be responsible about the way that we're handling this and making sure that we're putting the incentives in the right place so that we can wean ourselves off of fossil fuels and make sure that we make investments in renewables that not only hold the promise for environmental policy, but also for our economic future too. We have 1,400 jobs in solar in New Hampshire right now, and that's very exciting. My opponent denies the science behind climate change. I trust it, and I know that we can't not do anything. We've got to leave this world better than we found it.
Mr. Edwards, you've been invoked. You can have 30 seconds.
Sure. I've made this very clear. I don't want America being taken advantage of. Too often, America gets the short end of the stick. So when you step forward and you say to countries like China, step up and pay your costs, step up and engage. And when China is trying to build its economy by increasing its GDP, doubling that over that 15-year period, and America has to pick up that cost, Chris is not interested in supporting America first. He wants to make sure that everyone else is taken care of but America.
We can stay with the environment and stay with Ken Landrigan.
Can I respond to that?
You can have time within the next question.
Sure.
Are we
going to go to John DeStaso?
No.
It's Kevin? Okay.
Yeah,
Kevin
sure.
on the environment.
Yeah, thank you very much. The dangers of chemicals called PFAS, they're used in plastics and coatings. Mr. Pappas, it's become a new environmental threat. And contaminating drinking water for homeowners in different areas in the 1st District. Our current congressional delegation has financed research into this problem. But what should the next step be?
We need to continue the health studies because families have waited too long to get the information that they deserve about the dangers of these substances and the long-term implications on public health. This is an issue that we see around the Coakley landfill. We also see it in the town of Merrimack, where the St. Gobain Plastics Company has polluted the groundwater of hundreds of homes in the area. So we need to make sure that those people that are still waiting to get hooked up to a public water supply and are on bottled water get the answers that they deserve. And I think we do need to do additional public health studies to look into this emerging contaminant so that we can set the right threshold to keep people safe. There's no more important promise than our government can make than to make sure that we have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink. Unfortunately, under this administration, they've turned over the EPA to the big polluters, to a coal lobbyist who's now in charge, who's loosened regulations around Midwest coal-burning power plants. They've loosened regulations around mercury emissions. That's really dangerous to people here in New Hampshire. The bottom line is we should protect public health and public safety, and we need to do something about the danger that PFCs pose.
And Mr. Edwards, if you're the 1st District Congressman, what would you do to make this a priority?
Well, clearly, what we should be able to guarantee as government is that when a parent turns on that faucet, that water coming out is clean and safe for their family. Also their furry family members as well. We're going to make sure that water is safe. And we can do that by making sure that we have the right information, timely information. You see, I think the CDC has said now that the level should be at 7 to 10. The prior study said 70 was good enough. There's people who have called on the EPA to set a national standard for everyone. That's troubling because New Hampshire has to have the flexibility to address our local concerns. And we should be able to do those, address our local concerns without the feds setting a national standard. The federal government should be there, perhaps in this issue, to provide timely, accurate information and research. But addressing this issue, we should have the resources to address this issue, to guarantee parents and citizens that they will have clean drinking water.